CGTN, China Global Television Network.
On today's World Insight with Tian Wei, Pakistan goes to the polls, with the early results set to come out on Thursday.
Corruption and Pakistan can no longer go together.
And Chinese President Xi Jinping in Johannesburg for the 10th BRICS Summit. On that occasion, a one-on-one with Brazilian writer Paulo Coelho on the rite of passage and inspirations of a best-selling author.
Hello and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei, coming to you live from Beijing on CGTN. We begin today's program in Pakistan. The country is voting for a new prime minister and government. First results will be announced on Thursday. Before our discussion about the latest and the challenges of electing new Pakistani leaders in that country, let's take a look at the latest.
3 candidates are leading in the polls. Shahbaz Sharif leads the center-right Pakistan Muslim League. He's the younger brother of former Prime Minister Nawaz, who was ousted from his 3rd term last year over corruption charges. Imran Khan's Movement for Justice, or PTI, has become the main opposition party in recent years. Also a center-right party, its campaign is built around anti-corruption and governance reforms. And Bilawal Bhutto Zardari heads the center-left Pakistan People's Party, which has been in government several times since it was founded in the 1970s. He's the 29-year-old son of former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto and one-time President Asif Ali Zardari.
And the people will come because people are sick of corruption in this country. People will come because they realize that corruption and Pakistan can no longer go together.
According to Pakistan's constitution, the next parliament has to elect a new prime minister. Following the elections, the president has 21 days to convene the National Assembly. The new assembly will then vote to elect a prime minister. But a hung parliament remains a possibility.
I think the people should look into the party and the leadership which can improve their life, can make their life easier, make the country stronger, take the country forward, and gain respect in the Committee of Nations.
The military has deployed more than 300,000 personnel to provide security inside and outside every polling station. However, security is apparently far from assured. A bombing attack hit the Pakistani city of Quetta, leaving at least 30 people dead. Police report that the attack was carried out near a polling station.
We are facing threats. That's why we had already shared all the information with all the security agencies. And as you know, the Frontier Constabulary and police conducted various research operations.
Pakistan has for a long time struggled with terrorist attacks. New elected leaders have their work cut out for them, from security issues to a floundering economy.
For more on Pakistan's election, we are joined in our Beijing studio by Rong Ying, who is the Vice President of the China Institute of International Studies. Welcome, sir. Also joining us in Islamabad in Pakistan, Imtiaz Gul, Chairman of the Center for Research and Security Studies in Pakistan. Thank you, sir. And also Mustafa Sayed, the Executive Director at the Pakistan-China Institute. Welcome as well. I want to start with you, Mr. Gul, about the latest situation. A few hours ago, bombing once again happened in Pakistan, 30 people killed when the voting box is open. So what kind of situation are we still facing before the result could come out and be announced?
Well, I think this has been an historic day, another big milestone in Pakistan's democratic transition. And this tragic incident, the terrorist attack in southwestern Pakistan, failed in preventing people from coming to cast their vote. even in the area where this incident took place, people came out in relatively big numbers. And this showed basically the resilience and the determination of the people across Pakistan, that they do want to participate in the election, that they do look at the elections as a means for change in the destiny of this country. And I think 4 elections in 16 years, all in time, as per schedule, they demolished a lot of foreign-inspired propaganda and also nationally inspired propaganda that elections may not be held on time or maybe postponed. So I think that is a huge moment of celebration for all Pakistanis.
All right, a lot of silver lining of the cloud over there by Mr. Gu. By the way, it is not this accident alone, but also some of the earlier bloodshed on voting day and the earlier incident. There were other terror attacks in July. Let's take a look at some of those. 2 weeks ago, an Islamic State claimed the bomb attack that killed 151 people and injured 186. And the election rally on Sunday, a candidate from Pakistan's main opposition party was murdered in a suicide attack claimed by Pakistan Taliban. On July the 10th, a suicide bomber killed Awami National Party leader too. So one incident after another. Mr. Sayed, are you as optimistic and also cheering leader as Mr. Gu about the latest situation when it comes to this election?
Yes, Pakistan's elections have historically been facing a lot of challenges, and including terrorism. And this election has unfortunately also seen a lot of attacks and a spate in terror attacks, particularly in the past 2 weeks, as you rightly mentioned. But I would agree with Mr. Gul that we have shown a lot of resilience this time around and historically, where the people of Pakistan have not cowed down under the eyes of terror, under the eyes of oppression, and under the international pressures and local pressures that we have in Pakistan. So the people are coming out to exercise their right to choose their future, to choose their destiny.
I see.
And Balochistan, whether it be Balochistan or KPK, where the terrorist attacks have been in large numbers, have also witnessed a high voter turnout. So the hope is that we pray that the people of Pakistan are able to choose in a transparent manner, in a clean and above board manner, a government for themselves which is credible and which is legitimate.
All right, Mr. Rong, sitting here in Beijing as an observer of what is going on in Pakistan, 2 things come to my mind when we are talking about the earlier incidents related to the election. One is whoever is to become the prime minister, whoever is going to be key members of the government, is going to deal with terrorist issue. It's going to deal with the issue of Taliban and some of the other unresolved ones earlier. Secondly, the army of Pakistan has always been closely linked to the politics in Pakistan, and therefore their role in calming things down before the election and when the election is going on, it's an interesting question, isn't it? What about your thought about these 2 elements working together and probably with some of the other factors as well?
Well, indeed, if you look at the history of Pakistan, it's always kind of facing kind of challenges, how to manage stability and development. And the stability, of course, you have to look at the issues that affect the Pakistan outside and inside. And this is because of that, I think the institutions like the army, the military has always played a very important role in Pakistan's politics, and either in terms of dealing with the threats externally, or in terms of ensure the stability and tranquility of Pakistan. So I think politicians or politics in Pakistan have to live with this reality, and politicians or state have to find a way to manage this dilemma. Manage
this very delicate relationship between the civilian leader and the army. But Mr. Sayed, according to many believe when it comes to political election, the military should stay out, and yet all of you, the three of you, have been illustrating the significance of military in making sure about stability in Pakistan, particularly during transitional period of time. How should we understand this delicate balance that military should not have too much a role about who should be the leader and how that leader should govern the country? Of course, it was very complicated if we look at the past few decades back in Pakistani politics, isn't it, Mr. Saeed?
Yes, there has been a civil-military imbalance, so to speak, historically in Pakistan, and we have seen a large part of our history being governed by military regimes. But the military spokesperson, the head of the Inter-Services Public Relations himself, has also multiple times clarified in the recent weeks following the lead up to the elections that the military just has a supporting role in making sure that the security of the elections is fulfilled because of the challenges, and that the Election Commission of Pakistan, which is the primary institution responsible for carrying out transparent and credible elections, is supported by all institutions, including the army. And I think the results will also determine whether the elections were legitimate and credible, or whether the elections were, as some political parties are saying, a selection rather than an election.
I see.
So I think that we should give the benefit of the doubt that hopefully all the political parties, the three major political parties which you earlier mentioned in your introductory remarks, will accept the election results as above board, as credible, and as acceptable for the next 5 years. Because otherwise, if that does not happen, the loser will be no political party but the Pakistani people and the country.
We'll see how that election goes, so that all the sides that involved in the election would whether accept that or not. But by the way, when we talk about the military, Mr. Gu, I have to go to you about Mr. Imran Khan, who is likely to be the leading candidate for now. His relationship, visible or invisible, with the military, Mr. Gu.
Well, there's a lot of support for Imran Khan within the armed forces, also whether they are serving or retired. And there's also a lot of support for Imran Khan even among the youth, which constitute over 62% of the total population. And their agendas converge. The army is ultra-nationalistic, so is Imran Khan. Imran Khan has a particular view on the United States, and so does the military. So these ideals somehow of how relations with countries such as the United States or the internal situation and his views on how to fight insurgency and terrorism, they somehow converge. And that's why a lot of people invariably called him the blue-eyed boy of the military establishment. But we also have to take into account a very unwanted ground reality in Pakistan. The military in this country is as much tied into the governance and politics as the People's Liberation Army of China. Whether it's a natural calamity, whether it's terrorism or any security situation, it's the military that is performing the job. Then whether it's elections, for this time the Election Commission of Pakistan called them into action for safeguarding the entire process.
Okay.
So the military is there. So and also whatever allegations there were about the military's interference,
All right.
We have to understand if there were allegations or if there was any interference, this is nothing new. As part and parcel of Pakistan's political system,
Got it.
the army has been around, and that
You said it at the very beginning already, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Let me go to you, Mr. Rong. First of all, you might want to respond to your colleagues' comparison between China's situation and Pakistani situation. I'm not sure that's necessarily very similar to one another, by the way. And having said that, though, if you could answer that question, follow up, I will have one about the Belt and Road Initiative, because Pakistan is playing a crucial role in China's neighborhood about that project. Mr. Rong.
Well, despite the fact that China and Pakistan has such a close relationship, I don't see that any similarity between the role played by the PLA and the Pakistan Army in their respective politics. After all, I think, as I said, and our Pakistan colleagues said at the very beginning, that Pakistan's army or military, and because for historical reasons, has always looms large.
Okay.
And either, for sometimes it would come openly, but for most cases it would come up in a different way.
Okay, Mr. Rong, what about that question about the Belt and Road Initiative? China-Pakistan relations, one of it is building on the recent development of the Belt and Road Initiative and the Gaza port, and also some of the so-called economic corridors between China and Pakistan has become, one of the best case studies of how the project of Belt and Road is likely to benefit all who participate. If the election goes on and have a prime minister, the government comes into being, what is China's expectation about the cooperation spirit coming from the future generation of leaders in Pakistan?
Well, Belt and Road Initiative, I see in general, and the CPAC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor in particular here, is a kind of overall framework for long-term cooperation between China and Pakistan. And it is being welcomed and supported by parties all across the society and also the people. And so far, it has bring benefits, tangible benefits, and help raise economic and social development, and also improve the livelihood of Pakistan. Pakistan take it as a game changer and have high expectations. And so is China. And I think the Chinese would always, ready to help and also wish Pakistan good in their, political process.
Yes, Mr. Saeed, though, if you look at China's neighborhood, there were countries who have been changing their minds on certain projects, at the timeline of certain projects, how to do those projects when it comes to the Belt and Road Initiative cooperation. The question is, Pakistan, all-weather friend, that has been the label used for many years. What about now, when inside politics change, political transition, what does it mean for BRI, your perspective here?
Yes, firstly, I'd quickly like to add to something that Mr. Imtiaz Gul said about Imran Khan's nationalistic vision. I think all the three major political parties have proved their mettle and shown, and particularly the People's Party and the PMLN in the past, about the national security of Pakistan. The founder of People's Party, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, started the nuclear program of Pakistan, which is seen as one of the most nationalistic and most important national security decision in Pakistan's history. And then Mr. Nawaz Sharif, as Prime Minister, carried out the nuclear tests, which basically solidified Pakistan's national security and self-defense against the looming threat of India. And of course, Mr. Imran Khan also proposes that he will continue to preserve Pakistan's national security. So I think the argument is more than national security. The argument today in Pakistan, in the youth, in the people of Pakistan, is about development, about progress, about tangibles, about roads, infrastructure, power plants, electricity, food on the table, a safe environment. And I think the judgment, the reference point for the election should be, and I think will be, which party has delivered, which party has followed the model of Deng Xiaoping, of delivery, of progress, of economy, and of good GDP growth and human development index. And I think that is what is going to choose and what is going to distinguish which political party should come into power. And about the CPEC, I think you've asked a very important question. You know, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is the case study, is the flagship project of the BRI.
Right.
And the past 5 years have seen a transformation in the lives of the people. The World Bank and IMF figures of Pakistan's GDP growth are now 5%, which in 2012 were 3.2%. And we have generated 11,000 megawatts from projects of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which were undertaken by the PMLN government and with consensus of all political parties.
I see.
And I would like to say here, because you talk about continuity, what will happen in the future, I think there's a consensus amongst all political parties from the left to the right that the friendship with China and the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor has to go on, and there are no two questions about it. And Pakistan's military is also on the same page with the civilian leadership on China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So there's a grand consensus in Pakistan's divided, polarized politique that China is the future and China is our best friend.
All right, there's one question I have to ask you before we go. Mr. Gu, about Pakistan's envisioned future of its own. For example, Pakistan now member of SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Pakistan-India's relations over the past few years been bumpy, but at the same time, some kinds of warming up to a certain extent. What is likely to be the result of the election, impact on the eventual path that Pakistan is likely to seek about its regional strength?
Well, in the first place,
if I could ask you, sir, briefly, thank you so much.
Yeah, I didn't mean to compare the two militaries. All I wanted to say is that the Pakistan military is very central to the security of Pakistan as much as the People's Liberation Army is. And as for the regional situation, I think China has embarked on a very critical journey, which means engaging India and then urging Pakistan to engage Afghanistan in order to smoothen tensions which are trilateral. So I think under the SCO bannership, all 3-4 countries involved are going to benefit as the time passes by, and we are looking forward to the new government here as well as the softening of Indian position from now onwards.
Thank you so much for the three of you, Imtiaz Gul, Mustafa Sayed, and Rong Ying. Really appreciate it. Thank you. And best luck to the election in Pakistan. You're watching World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Still to come on our program.